What is up, you guys? The Fallout Wood here, and today I'm going to do the what if Deku, what if he had an Omni Sword quirk, and, where we last left off, Deku was in the, if I remember correctly, he was in the training grounds, and he was trained for a while, and he was trained by some of his relatives in different parts of the, technically different parts in the country. And what he's learned so far is that he can obtain multiple kinds of weapons, such as his grandfather's spear, or a new kind of thing that I've talked about before, which was the Dragon Claw. Now, if I didn't say it, then here's a little recap. Sorry about that. Deku basically had a sword lodged up onto him by his father, and by doing that, he's given him technically a Bankai, which, like I said before, Zanpakuto is much more easier to say than Soul Sword, because everybody knows what Zanpakuto is, at least if you're a Bleach fan. But anyway, so Deku is spending time, and he's getting a Dragon's Claw. And if you guys remember his father's ability, it is to basically collect enough kinetic energy to cause a massive fireball, or Deku to be inside of a massive fireball. So yeah, he can technically do all that. Now, with this, it could technically, it could technically make a fireball type thing inside Deku, so he could just punch something or claw at something, and it will feel like fire coming out of the claws. So it's kind of like that. It's more for protection, but it's like an upgraded version of a gauntlet. So everybody has their own kind of weapon and their own kind of abilities. I'm not gonna go all the way to I'm not gonna go like full-on Bankai. Somebody can do something and they can make so many swords around them. No, none of that. I'm going to do that, at least. And Deku, after learning how to do stuff like this, he's also attained a couple of other weapons, and he's managed to somewhat have his own upgraded one. Well, technically his own Bankai, which is just level 1. Mind you, this is a level 1. So, after all that, Deku has been training, and he's learned how to, he's been using other people's quirks, seeing how they do things, and Deku has helped out Class 1A and learning how to do, different kinds of quirks, and how to use them properly, and how to have better ideas in some sorts. Now, we're gonna get on to the fight. Well, we're not gonna get to fight. We're gonna get to Deku and Koda. Now, like I said before, Koda isn't like all the way too much of a fan of heroes, but he's gonna have to deal with it. With freaking Deku, let's see, he really doesn't care too much. To be honest, he doesn't care. Koda is someone that Deku understands. He understands Koda to the point of why he doesn't like heroes. He just doesn't. We understand why he doesn't like heroes. We just know it's kind of It's not as impressive. Like, if a hero, like I said, like I've done before, I've done what if Deku was like the Goblet, like Slayer. He had a reason to hate he had a reason to hate other heroes. But his is just, villain killed my parents. And then at the same time, think of it like this. If Koda's parents weren't heroes, but they died to a villain, would that mean he'll still hate heroes, or because they didn't actually come to them and come to their aid at time, or is he gonna hate villains? The logic is kind of messed up in My Hero Academia with this one, so yeah, there's kind of a weird thing, but hey, who am I to judge them? Anyway, we get to that whole point where Deku explains to him, and Koda, kind of like Inari from Naruto, basically, talks down and kind of belittles Deku. But, Froppy comes to the aid and actually, grabs Koda and hugs him. And with Opie on, Koda's mind now, he's not, like, all the way convinced, but he is technically kind of too flustered to say anything. But after that, Koda comes to terms with it. Let's see, little by little. It's not too much of an upgrade, but Koda understands why things are the way they are. Now, I'm going to say this right now. When Deku goes to Koda and he talks to him, well, when he tries to search for him during the whole, the fight between the heroes versus villains, yeah, Koda says, he says pretty much the same thing, and he's scared. He's very scared. If I had to say anything like that, he's very scared. Because Muscular's in the way. And due to the whole thing with Muscular, Deku has to try to save him. But things are different. Because Deku, he runs up to freaking... Well, he doesn't run. He technically teleports to Muscular and stabs him in the freaking leg. And this is when Deku is, well, he's pretty much hacking and slashing at his face, but Muscular punches him, causing Deku to fall backwards. Deku says, "Why were you going to kill him?" Muscular does admit that, he pretty much wants to kill the little kid just because it's fun. And he likes it. So, Deku does what any normal person would do. And start charging at him, actually just not even realizing that for a second. Because he's just a little too mad, but he's not full-on raging. So when he comes to grab and attack freaking Muscular grabs something from the back of his pants. That sounded... You know what? He grabs a gun. He pulls out a freaking weapon and shoots it at freaking Deku's leg, causing Deku to fall down. Now, this is when Deku is in pain, but he starts trying to heal himself. And this is when he tries to get up and tries to heal himself, but he gets shot in the arm, causing Deku to fall down. Now, Deku gets shot in the arm, and he's scared right now because, well, he doesn't have any armor on, which is technically Deku's fault, but at the same time, the only one who's ever used a gun that I've seen, the three main people that I've ever seen use a gun is Snipe, that weird guy that had bullets coming out of his fingertips, and the kid from, the kid who shoots out poison gas. So I thought to myself, it would be kind of funny just to see the downfall of heroes led on by somebody with guns. And I'm not going to count the movie. I'm not going to count the movie because it's the movie. But Deku gets up and heals himself. And he tries to heal himself very fast. And if you guys don't know how he can heal himself, well, there is somebody called Recovery Girl. And guess what? she could technically heal people. Yeah, sure, it's not the same thing as, you know, healing people the way she does, but, you know, for the sake of making sure that, you know, I want to do it the way I like it, I gotta just do this. Now, Deku is pretty much on the defensive side. Deku shoots out pretty much ice, and freaking Muscular says, "What is your name?" Deku says, "Why do you want to know my name?" And he says, it's been a while since I've seen people still try to get up even though they gotten shot. Most people would just try to run away, but you still have your sword up against me. So he's wanting to understand his name. Deku says his name is Mysterio. Izuku, freaking Hisashi. Now, Muscular says, "Alright, now that I know that, you're going to die." Muscular pretty much aims at his head, but this is when Deku pretty much puts out his hand, causing freaking Muscular to shoot at a black hole, or at least a portal, and causing it to be lodged up onto Muscular's freaking, inside of one of his arms, because Deku shoots out a portal, which actually just makes it travel in a different direction. Deku gets up and is pretty much healed to the point where he can stand and walk without having to basically bleed, but because he's still injured, he can't move as well. So Deku pretty much has to fight him. He gets his dragon claw, and pretty much slashes it at Muscular's arm, and it's a deep cut. So Muscular gets angry and heals himself. Well, he doesn't heal himself. He just puts so many muscles within it, so that way he can stop the bleeding and he can punch Deku. Deku's about to try to block, but he knows he can't. So Koda knows this, and he does the one thing that he can: get in front of Muscular and Deku. With this, Deku doesn't know this, but Koda gets slips, because he slips, he pretty much gets hit, but it's to the point where he's actually just out of breath, but he gets knocked out due to the wind just all flowing out of him and causing him to just lie there. Deku gets very mad and looks at him. Muscular says, "Whoops, my bad. I didn't know that he was gonna fall so easily." Now, I'm going to stop there for a second. Deku, before we go there, Froppy and Tokuyami, they're pretty much okay for the time being. And due to Toga not being in there, she's not, technically she's not going to die, and not only that, she is technically within the clan. Yeah, so she's okay. Sorry if I'm breathing a little too much or yawning. I pretty much got work tomorrow, so yeah, if you guys don't know, for the first video, it's going to be, I think, probably a week away from this time. So I'm pretty much just doing videos right at this moment. That way you guys can get more videos on a day-to-day basis, and I could just do what I have to do, by not screwing you over. I do hope you like the video, though. Not like it, like, comment, subscribe. I mean, I just hope you enjoy the video. So anyway, back to the story at hand. Deku gets sad because it reminds him of about a little too much like Eri. Oh yeah, since Eri's with him, Kota is technically, much more nicer. Like, he doesn't kick him in the... I don't think, as far as I know, he doesn't kick him in the nuts. He's not mean towards Deku as much because Eri's actually always with him. But Deku looks down and starts crying a bit. Muscular is trying to dislodge the bullet out of him. And this is when Deku says, "I'm sorry, Kota. I shouldn't have stalled a bit. I wanted to see how far and how strong he was, because I didn't want to kill him. But it seems that I understand that you don't like heroes. I wanted to be somebody that could protect you and give you hope. But now, it seems that I'm not able to do that anymore. I'm doing this for you, Kota." And he basically gets up and starts getting angry. And he actually just grabs his freaking spear and just starts running around and trying to find an opening. This is when he teleports upwards, and he starts using Ochako's quirk. And he's also using Bakugo's quirk, and just starts shooting like at high speeds backwards, causing him to go through so many portals that he's pretty much just like going so fast that when he shoots out the portal, all people can hear is wind floating about and Deku with a spear stabbing into Muscular. Now, it hits him in the stomach, but Muscular pretty much just hits him so hard in the back, it almost felt like it was cracking a second, and Deku was on the ground. He's crying a little bit. And he's crying. And he's crying again. Muscular is pretty much not knocked out, but he's trying to, heal himself however he can, because he's trying to breathe and all that stuff, and he thinks he's won. He thinks he's beaten Deku. But as everybody knows, you can't knock down Deku in a what if. At least most what ifs. So, this is when he starts looking around. And kind of like how I kind of I stole this from Naruto. I took in the idea from Naruto and had people that's been around him care about Deku. And the whole clan is there roaring and yelling at him, saying, "You could do it. Don't give up. It will be okay. Just keep pushing a little bit harder and be a little bit more stronger." This is when Deku realizes his mistake. It wasn't him just using their abilities. It was the fact that it was their will and their souls that are there, connected to Deku. However he can do anything in this world. He's pretty much crying and saying thank you. And this is when Deku gets back up with a new kind of weapon. One that's made of light. And then he also has another. And another and another. And this is when something happens. A miracle is born. Deku starts seeing blue colors. Well, technically blue little square shapes going onto Deku's skin. And it's going on his skin, and it's going on his arms and his legs, his head, his body. Deku sees what he's become. And his hair, which is technically kind of long, it becomes all frizzy and strong, like stiffer. This is when Deku starts transforming into this. And I understand this is a Susanoo, and how can Deku do that? I'm just actually giving him the outlook, his armor. If you can imagine Deku just with the armor on. Don't imagine it to be freaking, I forgot how many meters, how tall this guy is, or the Susanoo is. But Deku is pretty much, he's rocking it right now. As you can see, Deku is now, well, he's looking at Muscular and grabs his swords. It just starts running towards him, flying up in the air. And he slashes at Muscular a couple of times, causing Muscular to figure out that this thing, his skin isn't doing nothing. And he grabs a big rock and just throws it at Deku. But Deku just pretty much blocks it and just destroys it with ease. With ease. So, Muscular is scared, and Deku tells him that he will see him at Hell. And with that, Deku starts becoming much more darker, as the blue light turns into reddish purplish, then turning to purple, as dark shadow is covering the whole thing, causing it to look like a demon crawling out of the Susanoo. And this is when Deku's fully healed, but he's very tired. So this is when Dark Shadow appears and just bites it at freaking Muscular, causing Muscular to die due to, well, his body snapping in two. Deku's on the ground, and he carries Koda, and he starts teleporting to the school, or at least the training facility, and he pretty much puts Koda down, and he teleports into a random place. Not knowing where he's at, he actually gets stopped by some fire at his back. And I'm going to leave this part off here for a second, so give me a moment. Now, where was I? Oh shit, okay. Sorry about that. Now, when Deku gets blasted in the back by blue fire, we all know that it's Dabi. Deku would, technically, he would be able to get out of this, but because he blasted him in the back unsuspectedly, and because of Deku being so, distracted by supposedly Koda's quote-unquote death, Deku didn't actually see this coming. So, when Deku tried to, use his hardening ability, he used pretty much freaking Tetsus, thinking that it'll protect him. But the thing is metal and, hot fire will still hurt Deku. So Deku has he has technically so many burns on his back that it looks kind of weird. Tokoyami and Froppy didn't see this, but Deku did use Dark Shadow, which helped out for a bit, but Dark Shadow can't handle this heat as well. And I'm just saying that because I don't think he can handle just like fire just regularly, especially hot fire. Now, Deku did try to teleport, but it couldn't work. Deku is so he's in so much pain that he can't concentrate on his ability to get out of there. So when Deku falls out of consciousness, Dabi gets, sheesh, I forgot what his name is, but he's the one that basically can can basically capture people with tiny balls or little pearls or something like that. So Deku doesn't know what to do, but he gets captured in the very end. Now, they do try to rescue Deku. You know, in Class 1A was trying to get him, but it was pretty much Todoroki, Froppy, Tokoyami, Bakugo, and let's just say Sero, because, you know, he's got to tape them all together. Now, he does this, they try to, you know, rescue, the rest of the people, but it didn't work out in the very end, which leads up to Deku, you know, being captured instead of Bakugo. Now, Bakugo isn't like as, oh no, it's so sad, I'm gonna cry, but, you know, Deku is kind of like a rival for him, so he wants to beat him up, and the fact that these people, you know, did it before him, it kind of sucks. So, oh sheesh. Hold on here, people. So, sorry about that. Anyway, that was my mother calling me. She worries about me. No, other stuff. Now, Deku gets tied up, and pretty much he has restraints all over his body, and not only that, there is, how do I say it? There's Dabi, I forgot the other one's name. The lizard dude. I'm not too familiar with him. I don't pay attention to him a lot. So yeah, that's my bad. But let's see. There's the magnetic dude, and the guy and the villain that basically can, you know, turn that could stop Deku and capture him. There's pretty much those people, those guys, and there's Shigaraki too. Now, he looks at Shigaraki, and he basically starts, you know, looking at him and saying that, oh yeah, you should have listened and came to us. We could have, you know, been such a we could have been such a good team. But this is when Deku, you know, tries to get mad at him and pretty much tries to, you know, shoot out like fire, but it's all over his hands. So he pretty much shoots ice on it, and pretty much shoots more ice and more ice, but it's concealing it. It's like it's stopping it before it's even there. So all Deku can do is just stand there, and this is when pretty much Shigaraki puts his hands on Deku's arms, causing it to basically be kind of, you know, cracked or kind of decayed. So Deku's is yelling out in pain, but he can't say a thing. This is when Deku looks at him with anger, and Shigaraki says, "Oh, what are you going to do about it?" And Deku tries to break out by summoning his soul abilities, but when he tries to do it, it came out of his heart instead of his hands, because, well, he can't summon anything right now because they're not in a way that he usually grabs a sword, so there wouldn't be no use to it. But he could probably, you know, do something with his hand. Oh, technically not his hands. He can, you know, grab it with his teeth. But this is when Shigaraki pretty much kicks the sword and just stomps on it, basically kicking it at Deku's chest, causing it to just like push back into Deku forcefully, causing Deku to be in, you know, more agony. Deku wonders why he's getting hurt and why he can't do a thing. Not only that, why is his quirk not being able to work? Rhymes. Anyway. So, Deku pretty much just calms himself down. He doesn't try to fight it anymore. he just relaxes his mind and tries to see what he can do. This is when, probably a couple more days later, this is when Class 1A decides to break in. And not only that, this is when Hisashi goes to, he goes to the army and, grabs, the soldiers that works for him. And pretty much every family member that at least has power and that at least is gonna fight to the death for their new leader. This is when it rises to the. Hold on here, people. This is when they rise up to the challenge and starts saying that this is for Deku. Now, Deku is pretty much just sick and is coughing up blood. Because since Shigaraki did all that, and not only that, due to the injuries that he just obtained, and he also have gotten from the past and from the present, Deku is pretty much useless at the moment. Even healing himself is not easy to do. But there is a couple of people that do help out in the very end, which is All Might and Endeavor. Gran Torino, pretty much the heroes. I know Class 1A isn't supposed to be there, but at least some of the members decide to do it. Like Ida, because even though he doesn't like Ida, and Ida doesn't like him, he knew that in the very end, Ida would be okay. And yes, he is technically back. And if I said that he's pretty much paralyzed forever, Deku did have a heart and healed him again because, he knows that Ida shouldn't deserve this at a young age. No person, nobody is, deserving of such torment. So Deku did heal Ida. Ida probably would have been surprised because, Ida's, Ida. But Deku did, grab no. He pretty much Ida. It's Ida. So I keep messing up, but what I'm trying to say is it's Ida, Bakugo, Todoroki, Froppy, Tokoyami. Who else would have been there? I know Kirishima. There is Momo as well, and there's Uraraka. Pretty much, mostly everybody's there. I'm probably... everybody is there. We're just gonna say it. Class 1A comes to the rescue as well, but they're doing it their own way. They're trying to take Deku. And, well, after some planning, they pretty much are just waiting until, they get Deku, because if you guys remember, Momo did put the GPS, so she was all for it, and with convincing from Froppy and Tokoyami, they pretty much just, they were going to do it willingly or not willingly, or unwillingly, as people call it. So Momo says, alright, I will do it. Now, this is when they pretty much try to rescue Deku, and Deku is being, healed, but a special person decides to try to help him out. Even though this could potentially spell out death for Deku. Which is, Eri. Eri is right there. She's going to help him out too. Now, even though the Wrath family, told Eri that there's no way that a little girl can, do this, and let them do something about it. Eri was consistent, saying, I want to help out Papa, because you guys decided, hey, guess what? He's going to be called Papa. And I like it too much. I like it. It's adorable. But anyway, they help out Deku. And this is when Eri comes up to him. And since you all know what Eri's ability is, she's healing him to the point where it was right after Deku had got shot. So those injuries are still there. And when this whole thing happens, you know, the way they take Bakugo, Deku pretty much teleports himself to another place, and this is when pretty much Todoroki just shoots out a big ice glacier, and this is when what is it called? Freaking Dark Shadow. Well, Tokoyami's Dark Shadow is right there from behind, and you know everybody's like protecting Deku at this point. So this is when Ares healing him, and Deku feels it in his body, but the scars are still there. But scars are now left on Deku. Now this is when Deku says thank you, thank all of you guys, but he has to fight this one person that, you know, freaking Shigaraki's been talking about, because this guy is stronger and he has the same abilities that he's heard of. Because Shigaraki would say, tell him at one point who, what, and where is, you know, All For One, and what's his past. Because, you know, I don't think All Might would tell him, because All Might would think, oh, this is the son of freaking All For One, and, you know, vice versa. So, Deku technically was a part of some baby mama drama that never actually happened. This is like a weird telenovela. This is like one of those opera shows, or no, what's this called? I forgot what it was called, but it was like one of those dramas where it was like, I'm going to go out with your brother, or your father is the actual father of the child, you know, that kind of thing. Now, Deku is healed up, and he still is regained conscious. And there, you know, Momo's giving him stuff to eat, and Deku's pretty much filled up to, you know, the brim with food. This is when Deku is, you know, mentally focused now, and he still remembers that pain, but he's wondering what's happening, which is the All Might versus what's his face again? Fuck, I just forgot. Hold on here, people. All Might versus All For One, and it's also the Wrath family and the army of the Wrath family versus Nomus that are like just popping out, because they know who the Wrath family is, and not only that, they know that Deku has to be associated with the Wrath family and on All Might. Now, All Might is pretty much fighting him, but you know what? Here, give me a moment here, people. Alright, so we all know that All Might is gonna fight All For One, and Deku's gonna fight All For One as well. Now, like I said before, and if I didn't, Deku will just use his teleportation to get there. And because, well, All For One knows how basically the quirks that Deku's been using are. Remember, it was only about a matter of time before his quirk was just gonna be erased, maybe even just taken away by All For One in general. But Deku was smarter than that, and what I mean by that is Deku gave everything up, such as like all the energy around him that he was wielding, all that power, and he basically had a new weapon. It was supposed to technically be a bigger sword, much more sharper, and it was going to be a double-edged sword. But because of how Deku is wired, he would go for something more out of it. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, Deku would, instead of having a double-edged sword, it would be a ball and chain. Now, he would use this, just wrapping around and throwing it at freaking All For One. When he tries to block it, it basically smashes his hands. And All For One is kind of afraid. And what do I mean by that? Well, Deku technically, pulverized All For One's arm by doing that. But he technically can regenerate. So what Deku does is just grab a new weapon out of his mind. And the weapon he chooses, well, it's a different one, but I know I wanted to use this one for a while. And it was basically, it's kind of a hard thing to call, I forgot what it's called. But, I'll show you a picture right now. Give me a second here. Alright, so it's going to be this one right here. And this one is going to have a special name, because this is technically Deku's real weapon. Well, technically sword that's been unlocked. It's not Bankai, or it's not a Zanpakuto. Or technically it's a Zanpakuto, but it's the original Zanpakuto he was supposed to have. This is called La Luna, or Luna de la Sangre. But if you don't know what that means, I know I kind of messed up the pronunciation and how it's worded, but it means basically blood moon. And what this does is basically it's just a very sharp, and it's actually a better weapon than Deku's original katana. So what Deku does is basically slash through more attacks that All For One's trying to do, and in this case, Deku is pretty much succeeding. Now, Deku shoots out lightning out of his hands and into the blade. Not only that, he's putting ice and fire into the blade. And this is when he basically calls his attack Elemental Tri-Sword Attack. I know it's not as fancy, but we're going with the original thing right here. So once he slashes down, basically a wave of lightning, ice, and fire just bombard All For One. It doesn't kill him, but he's pretty much close to death. Well, technically more close to death than he was in the in the anime. Now, after all that, Deku gets tired and is on his knees. Let me reword that for a second here. Now, if you guys already probably saw the little picture thing, Ghost Rider, it's gonna be up next, so don't worry about that, people. Still didn't forget that. But anyway, Deku technically almost kills All For One, and Deku goes to jail, but he doesn't go to jail. He's technically stopped by heroes, and the heroes lock him up for a while. And Froppy and Tokuyami get there. Well, technically they were there, but they were wondering why is he locked up, but it was because he fought a villain. And even though he technically did save the day, he is going to stay there for at least a month or so. So the dorm system, everything, that's in place already. Now it's in place. Everything else, Deku's going to do on his own. But he's going to have a hero name, and I thought about it. I didn't like the one I said, so I'm gonna call him the Soul Master or the Sword Master, which technically Deku is, because I would have called him the Omni Sword King, but he's also using quirks, so
Sword King or Soul Master or Sword Master. He got it, and now the clan is basically some family members died, some soldiers, a lot of soldiers died due to a lot of no-mu attacks, but in the very end it was done, and there was a ceremony. Deku did kind of cried because he felt so bad that his clansmen died because of him. But at the same time, he understands that it was sacrifices were needed to do this whole thing, and he doesn't say it like, "Oh, these people were just pawns." Deku actually has he actually feels like these people shouldn't be just forgotten. So Deku does give a ceremonial speech afterwards, and after this, the whole overhaul thing happens, which I will cover soon. But right now, I gotta do the other one. So hopefully you all liked it. I always say this. I say it once, I gotta say it again. Like, comment, do subscribe. If you like the video, leave a comment and tell me what you liked about it. Maybe I can do it again. But as always, thank you guys, and hopefully you liked the video. This is the Fallout with a Fear. Bye.